All right, so this Ask HershNoeie question is kind of interesting. So this lady sends me an email, and she says that, hi HershNoeie, sorry. Uh, she mentions her name. I am a Filipina. She mentions that she's in her early 20s, and she wants to date a black man. She mentions that she sees black men in the Philippines. Her friends have told her to stay away from black men. However, there is a couple of her friends that she knows that actually have dated black men and haven't had a problem. Um, and she wants to try. Now, she says that she has mentioned this to her mom, and her mom, she didn't mention her dad, but she's mentioned it to her mom, and her mom is against it because she says that she feels that black men are trouble. And she says, but she really and truly likes black men. She's just attracted to them. She likes the skin tone, that type of thing, right? And her question is, how do I find? She loves the channel. She says, how do I find a good black man like yourself? And she says that she envies Noelle because she has a good, successful, and sexy man. You damn right. Anyway, I'm joking. No, I mean, I'm kind of. I mean, it's true. I mean, thank you. I appreciate that. I was a little taken aback by it, but I appreciate that. Let me first say that in her thing, she also expressed that she has no interest in leaving the Philippines. She's not looking for, some guy to sweep her off her feet and bring her someplace. She's not interested in that. She wants to stay there. She mentions her reasonings for it. I'm not going to go into details, but they have their own business and that type of thing. And so that's her focus and all of that. I mean, this is a fairly detailed email, right? But I got to the juicy points, especially the ones about me. Sorry. But here's my take on it. I think that I've heard comments like that before, of where, in the Philippines and in other places too, but in the Philippines, I mean, there's this, sometimes some black dudes have a bad reputation, right? Now, this has nothing to do with anything that's been proven. It's just that that is kind of what people, excuse me, sometimes the older generation, sometimes the current generation, and all points in between have this view of black men, right? Now, keep in mind that any place that has been a ex-colony, this view is kind of strong, right? Because it goes hand in hand. The whole bigotry against black men goes hand in hand with any place that's been colonized. It just does. And so there's history with that. And that's why your mom and other people really and truly talk down or don't see black men in such a positive light. And because they know the difference between black Americans and other black people, but they lump all of them in one little category, and that's just not accurate. The problem with this is we're not in the 90s anymore, or early 90s, in the 80s and 70s, where you couldn't really look up information. You see what I'm saying? Like, people could say, stay away from such and such because, they're this, and that. And then they show, and people can write their own narrative, right? You can show images of, black people doing the wrong thing, and that reinforced the bigotry. But now, the good old internet, you can't, that dog won't bark. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't make that happen anymore because there's so much evidence to prove that not to be the case. In fact, there's Filipino dudes that do horrible things, commit crimes, beat up people, do different things, just like any other dude would, right? the skin tone of a person or the race of a person doesn't determine their character. It doesn't. And they know that. These people know that. But there's still this whole point of people wanting to believe the worst out of some other group to make themselves feel better. I'm not trying to slam your mom, but sometimes people want to feel better. So let's, at least I'm not black. That was always what people said back in the day about the poor whites during slavery. Well, at least I'm not black. Might be poor, but at least I'm not that. You see what I'm saying? So even though the view of poor whites was not that much better, they didn't view, the elites and the slaveholders didn't view poor whites that great either. They didn't like them. So, but as long as you can satisfy people and kind of, make them feel like they're important, at least you don't have to worry about them. You don't have to worry about them banding together and trying to take over. And that worked. And it works when you're looking at past colonies because they're fed the same stuff, right? They're fed the same stuff. So naturally, who are they going to try to be like? They're going to try to be like the ex-colonies. They look at, the stuff that they brought in and the ships and the boats and the buildings and everything else and say, well, that's success. I mean, look at what they did, right? So to them, success only looks either similar to them or white. Because I'm not saying all, but to some, that's what they view as being successful. And if you date somebody who's black, whether they're American or from Ghana or Nigeria or from the United Kingdom, if they're black, then that means you basically dated or married down and you're not going to have success, even though that doesn't make sense. There's plenty of people. And what's ironic is that the people that they're talking about make more money than some of the people who are saying that. You know what I mean? Like they're making more money than some of the people who make that claim. Like, huh? You know what I mean? It's, again, the whole point about racism and bigotry, I don't understand it. I've said it before, I don't get it because it doesn't make sense. If there was a part of it that did make sense and that you could really and truly back up and be like, okay, but none of it makes any sort of sense. Like the whole part of you're not going to be successful, yet you're dealing with someone. If let's say someone said that about me, I've dated Filipinas before and none of their family had an issue with me, but let's say that they did. And they said, you know what, I date a black guy because he's not going to do this, that, and they're lazy. He's not successful, but yet I've always had houses. This is my third house now. You know what I mean? Like I've always had a pretty decent job. So it doesn't make sense. And now that there's the internet, people see channels like this one and others, and they see that that's not true. There have always been people who felt that wasn't true to begin with. But to actually see it, again, that dog doesn't bark. And you go on here and you're talking about, you've never dated one, but you're attracted to, what the skin tone and that type of thing. And I've heard that before, and for some people that's important. Some people like dark skin. To me, it doesn't matter if someone is the color of a snowflake or as dark can be. Some of the darkest women are very, very attractive to me. That doesn't matter. I go back to the whole black hair type thing. If you have black hair, I'm down. That doesn't mean that if someone's a blonde, because I've dated blondes and I haven't dated a redhead, I don't think, but that doesn't mean if someone's a brunette or I think brunette and black hair is the same thing. Whatever, you get what I'm saying. If someone has brown hair or red hair or blonde hair, that doesn't mean I don't think that they're attractive or that I run from them. It just means that black hair is what pulls me in the most, something I notice the most. I can't explain it. I just do. It's something I like. Doesn't make sense to some people, but it makes sense to me. Just like some people, that's all they go for is a blonde. That doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't mean it's wrong. I don't get it. But at any rate, to me, I think there's nothing really wrong with it. I think with your parents, or with your mom, it's one of those types of things where sometimes you have to date someone for them to kind of see. You know, that's typically the case. Sometimes, and it's different there versus here. Here, people, it doesn't matter if you bring someone home and give it time. A lot of times they're going to be stuck in their ways because this is America. They know their bigotry is not going to change. It's not. They've been around black people. They've seen black people. They've had a whole lifetime around black people. Their view and their bigotry is never going to change, unless they decide to change. There's nothing that, if you were here, there's nothing that dude can do, typically, to change a person's mind. It's different. There, where there's not as much experience and exposure, where if you were to date someone who's black and he actually, you know, they were like, oh, well, you're not a bad guy after all. He's pretty cool. He's this, that, and the other. That may change some things. I always stand on the principle of don't not date someone just because your mama or your daddy doesn't like it. I think that's silly. I go back to people die all the time. If you sit here and you don't want to date somebody because you're scared or because your parents or somebody says you shouldn't, what happens whenever you say no to all these people that you could have dated? You get old and then your parents die and you literally think back of what it could have been. I could have actually been married, had kids, and this, that, and the other, whereas you keep dating the same type of people, same type of dude, same type of everything, and it doesn't work out. I'm not saying that, you know, you can't find a good Filipino guy. You probably could. There's a lot of good Filipino dudes there, I'm sure, or anybody else. But I'm just saying, if in general, if you're attracted to black men, then why not? Now, some people will minimalize the relationship because that's just what people do. But generally, I mean, it doesn't seem like you have a bad attitude. You're not looking, because some people are like, well, maybe she's looking for a green card. There's stereotypes everywhere. That's why I think people look for a community on social media. If you notice that, you see a lot of Facebook groups. You see some folks that follow certain YouTubers. I'm guilty of that. I only follow certain YouTubers. Excuse me. So typically, if there's a YouTuber that's in a Blasian relationship, I'll follow those. Blasian relationships I follow. Interracial relationships I follow typically. I follow DIY stuff because I love that type of stuff. There's a lot of different things like beekeeping and making beer and different. So I'll follow those things, right? But outside of that, I typically don't, because when you have that commonality, then you can kind of say, okay, I don't have to deal with a bunch of crazy. You know, I don't have to deal with something that's going to be, they pop up a video that you're like, what? You know what I mean? So that's kind of the reason why people are doing that. They're on social media, they're finding that connectivity. You could be thousands of whatever miles away, but we have that common bond. We have that connectivity because we're all a part of a much larger community. You see what I'm saying? You don't have to deal with the stupid. You're still going to have some stupid within, but you don't have to deal with the real crazy, offhanded stuff, right? So I would say, thank you again for the compliments. I agree with you. But I think that I would go for what you know, which is that you know that you are, well, you think you are attracted to black dudes. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with being attracted to someone with darker skin or lighter skin or taller, shorter, whatever, rounder. It's whatever. I think that that's fine. I don't see that, you know, and again, you're not somebody that's looking to just come here and say, you know, I'm just going to move to the U.S. And this is because I've seen that. I'm looking at a channel now where all the comments are about, you know, this one chick who's a Filipina, and they're saying that, oh, well, she just basically wants financial stability, or she's just wanting a green card. This is an example of someone who's not even looking for that. Financially, she's set. She's also wanting to stay there to continue the family business. So that's not always the case. So anyhow, that's kind of my take on it. Hope that's clear, because I was all over the place and I'm about to eat my lunch. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, I will see you. Take care.